Welcome to the June 11, 2024 City Council meeting. Please stand for the invocation by Councilman Missions, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for this opportunity to be here, Lord. First of all, to serve you, and then next to serve our city, Lord. Lord, I just thank you for this tremendous opportunity, and I just ask that you just help us to be wise tonight. Give us your wisdom, Lord, as we make these decisions that impact the lives of our citizens. Lord, I also ask that you watch over our city, that you protect us, you keep us healthy, Lord, and you keep us well. Lord, thank you so much for all you have done. And most of all, thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, who died so that we may all live forever with you in heaven. In your name I pray, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight's City Council agenda is divided into 4 sections: consent agenda, public hearing, public comment, and general business. The first section is consent agenda. This section includes routine items, and all items may be approved by one vote. May I have a motion on the consent agenda? Okay. All right. Go ahead and cast your vote. It comes up.
One moment.
Okay.
Okay. We'll reset the vote.
Okay.
Okay, please mark your vote.
Mine hasn't popped up.
Mine's popped up. I feel bad, I'm voting often.
We'll reset the vote one more time. And if not, I think a voice vote will be fine.
I really like this one.
Mine's not popping up.
Okay. I'll call for the voice vote.
Okay, go ahead.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Helgeson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Moving on to public hearing. The next section is public hearings. This section includes all public hearings as required by law or as council may direct. Staff will make a presentation. Comments will then be solicited from the public. An individual speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. If the speaker represents a group, the speaker shall have 5 minutes. A speaker representing a group shall identify that group at the beginning of his or her remarks, and a group may have only one spokesperson. Each speaker shall clearly state his or her name and locality of residence. Upon the conclusion of public comments, the public hearing will be closed and the matter referred to council for deliberation. Consideration of adopting a resolution approving the allocation of fiscal year 2025, program year 2024, Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and Home Program Entitlement reprogrammed and recaptured funds. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Ms. Melva Walker. Hello.
Good evening, Mayor Reed, Vice Mayor Faraldi, and members of City Council. Tonight, City Council is conducting a public hearing on the fiscal year 2025 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and Home Program funding recommendations of the Community Development Advisory Committee, CDAC. The city will have available $722,622 of CDBG entitlement funds, with $20 of reprogram funds and $302,774 in home program entitlement funds, with $5,834 of recaptured funds. CDAC conducted a public meeting on February the 22nd. The committee reviewed the submitted CDBG and home program applications, and the applicants presented overviews to the committee for the requested projects. CDAC formulated project recommendations for consideration by City Council. These recommendations and project summaries have been provided to you. Council members Larry Taylor and Mayor Reed are the council-appointed members of the CDAC and participated in the recommendations. At the conclusion of the public hearing, Councilmember Taylor, as chairman of the CDAC, will present these recommendations to you for approval. As required by the CDBG and Home Program Citizen Participation Plan, a public notice for this meeting was published in the News in Advance and through social media. City staff has not received any written citizen comments prior to this meeting.
Thank you very much. We will call you back up if we have any questions. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Any voicemails from citizens?
There are none.
Okay, the public hearing is closed and the matter rests with council. May I have a motion?
Yes, as chairman of the CDAC, I move that we approve these items that we looked over. Everybody approved them in the committee, and it's good for the city
Okay,
and neighborhoods. I move that we approve.
okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Do I have to speak to that?
Well, again, I think this is one of the greatest projects that we have in our community for the CDAC funding. The community members are part of the committee to make the decisions, so it really gets the input from our citizens, our community. The funds go for great causes, for home down payment assistance, and if you go down Florida Avenue, you see the great project they did with the Rush Homes. It is amazing. I think it's home for senior citizens as well as persons with disabilities. I mean, it's a beautiful new project. So again, it just really helps our community, because housing is a challenge
challenge now. I mean, rents are just horrible. They're just so high. But again, that's the market we're in. So it's so important to have programs like this that can support our community, help them afford better housing. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Any other discussion? Councilman Hudson?
Maybe Melba, or maybe this is to our city manager. The resolution, it's pretty, it doesn't address like to what we're approving. It just says we're approving something, but it doesn't say like a schedule or an attachment or, I thought there's normally like what we're approving other than just approving, rather than the actual allocations that Councilmember Taylor just kind of presented. And
What I'm looking at, and I'd ask maybe the city attorney, but it looks like by attachment B and C, the numbers that Ms. Walker talked us through, I guess, are those incorporated or be it here resolved? Are those?
So
I'm
I
looking
think-
to the-
should
sorry.
be some reference, I guess, is all I'm.
And Melva, I may ask you this, are the two attachments B and C what need to be part of the resolution?
You could make attachment B part of the resolution.
So maybe what council could do is make a amendment to the motion to include attachment B to be incorporated by reference into the resolution.
Yes.
Would you like to make the amendment then?
Yes. I'd like to move that we make an amendment to attach B to A.
Okay. All right, with that amendment, can we go ahead and try to vote?
Yes.
So attachment B is now incorporated into the resolution.
Yes.
Sure, I will pass it through Civic Clerk 1 second. Adopt. Okay. Nothing, okay. I'll call for the voice vote.
I don't have it.
Not all members had it. Councilmember Dolan?
I just voted, I had it this
Oh,
time.
you had that?
Yes.
Okay, Councilmember Hosen?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, consideration of introducing a resolution amending the fiscal year 2024 adopted budget to reflect the third quarter adjustments. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Ms. Donna Witt.
Thank you. These adjustments to the FY 2024 adopted budget appropriate additional dedicated revenue in the general fund, utilize the reserve for contingencies for additional funding in the general fund, true-up grant funds, appropriate additional revenue in the capital fund, and appropriate revenues in other funds. After the public hearing, I'll be glad to answer questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Any voicemails from citizens? Okay, the public hearing is closed and the matter rests with council. May I have a motion? Motion? Discussion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second on the motion?
Yeah, second.
Okay. Dr. Wilder?
No additional comments. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Taylor? Okay. Any discussion? No? Okay. Oh, Councilman Helgeson?
I'm glad, thank you, Ms. Witt, for, you have the attachment in the resolution, which is A. Last time we did talk about trying to find places other than the reserve for contingency. Is there any possibility?
I think where we came to is we could appropriate additional revenues, but utilizing the reserve for contingency so it doesn't fall to fund balance was kind of in one pocket or the other. So I just made the decision we would go ahead and take it out of the reserve for contingency since we are so close to the end of the year.
That's all I was just going to say. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Let's go ahead and vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Heggelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faraldi?
Nope.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 6-1.
Okay. The next section is public comment. During public comment, individual speakers have 3 minutes to speak, and those representing a group have 5 minutes to speak. Typically, City Council takes comments made during the public comment section of the agenda under advisement and may refer concerns to the city manager for follow-up. Citizens often express conflicting and diverse positions regarding specific issues under consideration. To encourage citizen participation and to avoid intimidation to persons who may express sometimes unpopular opinions, applause, cheers, or jeers from the audience are not permitted. When appearing before City Council, citizens may not engage in behavior that intimidates or insults others, engage in disruptive behavior, use profanity or vulgar language, promote private business ventures, or campaign for office. And just a reminder, because we've had some very passionate events recently, that I just want to make sure everybody remembers to, if you're going to applaud, to do it this way. And again, just to be mindful of speakers, no speaking when other people are speaking. Just keep your thoughts to yourself quietly so we can respect everyone's time at the podium. We will now hear from a citizen regarding care of abandoned lots, derelict homes, and how they pertain to safety of the neighborhood, trash buildup, recycling, dumping, and construction garbage. Mr. Adam Bean, please restate your name and locality of residence.
My name is Adam Bean. I'm a resident of the College Hill neighborhood. I raise a family on Fillmore Street. On my block, between the stop signs, there are 9 properties, 4 of which are derelict, crumbling, and abandoned by their owners. They're overgrown, rotting wood, chipping lead paint, broken glass, and the like. I've watched these lots attract negative behavior and serve as pass-throughs and havens for people looking to hide. They are unsafe for the people that they hide, for the failed state that they are in, and for the pests that they attract. For the last few years, my neighbors and I have taken turns caring for these lots, properly disposing of large amounts of trash and bulk that get dumped in some cases several times a week. I have confronted people in the act of dumping, shoving old tires under porches, piling up mattresses, throwing trash over the fence into our yards. It's easy to do this because the lots are so overgrown. For a time, we were mowing the lots down. I was told by the Community Development Department to stop doing that because if the city contractor mows them, then the owner can be billed. That contractor rarely makes it by, has not made it by this calendar year at all. I've been calling the Community Development Department regularly, commenting and calling Citizens First regularly. However, the sentiment in the neighborhood is if you want something done, then you need to do it yourself. So I've spent money and significant time spraying, caring, and cleaning up lots that I do not own. I'm asking you for your help. As a person that is invested in the College Hill neighborhood, a resident who is committed to this street and to the city, who is committed to raising a family on this block, I ask that the council look into some ways that the city can hold the owners of these properties accountable for the blight. A crumbling structure has little assessed tax value. Their bill is small. The owner can square up online from afar, and it seems that the city can do nothing. I ask that we look into how to get a grip on people dumping these large amounts of trash. The folks using this neighborhood as a dump, and the owners of these abandoned lots are counting on no action because that is the way that it has been. I ask you to take a drive, take a look around, take a closer look, how the departments can better be supported serving the neighborhood, and the safety concern that these properties bring to the people that live here. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. Council, please note that James City is not here this evening. We will now hear from a group representative regarding concern regarding public display of exclusionary religious beliefs by town council members. Amanda Marsh from Lynchburg for Palestine Coalition. Please restate your name, group representative, and locality of residence.
Hello, my name is Amanda Marsh, resident here in Lynchburg. I'm here on behalf of the Lynchburg for Palestine group formed to address the U.S. taxpayer-funded violence committed in Gaza. We are a multi-faith, multicultural, multi-sexuality group in support of Palestinians in Gaza, the West Bank, and here in the U.S. Our Lynchburg Coalition is deeply concerned with the public display of exclusionary religious beliefs by town council members on their political social media accounts. As political leaders who are making political decisions in an ethnically and religious diverse community, we deserve to be recognized and governed respectfully without our faith being erased by our leaders. I identify as a Christian, and I recognize that all faiths are valid and deserve respect. When council members allow their religious beliefs to drive their political decision-making, it violates their citizens' human and constitutional rights. One of the town council members publicly shared the Appeal to Heaven flag on their political Facebook page. This flag is associated with violent far-right movements. It appeared at Trump rallies and at the January 6th insurrection. It symbolizes Christian nationalism, aka dominionism, a radical ideology that seeks to overthrow our government and replace it with extremist Christian ideology. Dominionist Christians believe they are called by God to exercise dominion over society, including government and the judiciary, to bring about their violent interpretations of end-time prophecies. The moral majority emerged as a prominent American political movement aligned with the Christian right and the Republican Party in 1979, with Jerry Falwell among its founders. Members of this council are connected to Thomas Road Baptist Church and Liberty University, which push political Christian Zionism, a violent ideology that asserts most of the Jewish people must return to Israel and be slaughtered so that Jesus can return as a vengeful king to rule the world. Christian Zionism follows not Jesus Christ and his teachings, but instead modern-day Israel, a secular, colonial, racist ethno-state. Christian Zionism supports and funds this violent apartheid ideology and its decades of serial wars, murderous blockades, and illegal occupation of Palestine. After 8 months of continuous bombing on Gaza, an estimated over 200,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israel, funded by us. Yet Christian Zionists immorally continue their support of this murderous and racist regime while ignoring the past 76 years of horrors and oppression visited on Palestinians. American Christians are the largest pro-Israeli voting bloc in the world, with approximately 56 million Christians, and most Christian Zionists support former President Trump in his bid for re-election. One of the council members here tonight has publicly and repeatedly posted his support for Trump and his disgust towards Democratic voters. Trump has frequently verbalized his support for the death penalty, is an avid supporter of Israel, and has been labeled champion of Noahide law by Israel National News. It is clear that there is a harmful pseudo-religious agenda trying to steer politics in this nation, and those who do not hold these beliefs are in the crosshairs. While Americans, especially evangelical Christians, foment Islamophobia and fear of Sharia law, there is an actual threat at our doorstep, one of religious far-right Christian nationalism that loudly declares its intention to end the existence of anything outside its dogma. When town council members are publicly and proudly choosing to govern by exclusionary and dangerous religious beliefs, it is our duty to challenge it. We no longer feel safe in our own community, and we no longer trust the leaders tasked with governance. You all took an oath to serve and protect this community. By forwarding your own religious views and putting your interests above that of the community you serve, you are failing as a council member. As a Christian in this community, I will not be silent in the face of such disdain to my faith and the promotion of false gospel of Christian Zionism and nationalism. Jesus did not come to bring a political kingdom. In John 18:36, Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world." Christian nationalism seeks to rule by force, which contradicts Matthew 11:13. The Bible tells us that the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And what have we seen in Gaza for the past 8 months straight? The murder of over 200,000 innocent civilians, many whom are children, and it is not self-defense. Dropping more bombs on an area the size of Detroit than were dropped on Dresden in World War II is not an accident. Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers." Your citizens ask you to set your religious beliefs aside from your political duties so that we can feel safe in our own community. We ask you to do what is right and pass a resolution for a ceasefire in Gaza, as many in the community are asking for. And if you want to identify as a Christian, be sure you're not bringing disgrace to the name of Jesus Christ, for it is written, "Vengeance is the Lord's." Free Palestine.
Thank you. We will now hear from a group representative regarding real estate taxation. Mr. Peter Seferati from the Lynchburg Breakfast Club, please restate your name, group representative, and locality of residence.
State what?
Your name, group representative, and locality of residence.
Oh, yes, okay. Peter Seferati, I'm a resident taxpayer in Lynchburg, and I'm representing a group of conservative citizens that meet Wednesday for breakfast, the Conservative Breakfast Club. Good evening. Thanks for having me up here. Appreciate it. I attended the May 28 council meeting to get a feel for the tone of the annual spending and funding conversation. So the majority of speakers tried to convince you to take more real estate tax money from homeowners. They claim this will improve our schools. It's the usual theme of more spending means better, you fill in the blank. What I heard was, please spend more of my neighbor's money on our schools and they will deliver a better education. Now, a lot of them call this investing in our schools. So let's take a look at this with a logical, non-emotional lens. What's an investment? In finance, it can be defined as the application of money or capital to an entity engaged in a service or a business in order to gain a profit or positive returns. People who invest in a service with the goal of preserving their capital and receiving desired returns are usually giving information which has been verified by knowledgeable third parties, and which outline how the service uses invested funds, why a positive return has been delivered in the past, and the likelihood that a future return can be expected. The risks of poor results are also addressed. With this information, a wise investor can make an informed decision on to invest or not. This is a rational approach to spending public funds also. Anything else is a gamble, not an investment. Let's apply this logic to the school system. It performs a service, education, by applying a myriad of policies, procedures, and methods in a systematic way to the minds, emotions, and bodies of precious students, precious children. The hope is that these children will develop their minds in a way that enables them, or at least this is what I hope it's supposed to do, enables them to read and understand and gain knowledge, to develop curiosities, to reason and make wise decisions in all areas of life, to communicate to others their ideas and their reasonings, and to become a wise adult, always learning and contributing to the well-being of society. Educated people like this are benefits or dividends for those who funded their educations as well as for themselves. Now, the talk about how much more money to invest in education needs to wait until we hear exactly what we are investing in and what the dividends the citizens, including the taxpayers and the students, can expect to receive. We need to read the prospectus before we put our money at risk. Then, once we decide the investment is worthwhile, prudent stewards of public funds would find out if we are currently funding other programs, investments, that deliver small dividends, no dividends, or negative dividends. If we find that we are finding losing investments like these, we have just discovered a source of funding for the new investment, which looks like it will deliver good dividends without raising taxes. Smart investors sell the losers and reinvest the proceeds in winners. Hope you all agree with that. So wouldn't you agree that we would have a more productive discussion about spending and funding if speakers here and people that come up and comment did more than criticize what they don't like or make snarky remarks about other people's ideas and reasonings? How about encouraging public commenters to come in here with constructive, specific ideas to improve the situations they don't like? Many taxpayers would be open to funding educational programs if they were convinced that the money would help produce better educated students. I know I would. Just coming in here to demand more of our money makes us taxpayers think folks don't care about our concerns, but they see us as their credit line to get what they want. This is not the way to make allies in a movement to improve the city of Lynchburg. If we citizens of Lynchburg would if the citizens of Lynchburg would open our eyes to the concerns of each other and find common ground for agreement, we could become the force which makes Lynchburg the city that may not be perfect, but which works for all of us. So let's not be people who just demand from others what we want. Let's be people who work together to help everyone have a share in a city that we are all happy to be a part of. In other words, let's talk to each other about our ideas. One of last week's commentators quoted Ben Franklin as saying that a wise investment pays dividends. Many of us agree with wise old Ben, I know I do. What we need to agree on, is that me? That was 5 minutes? Oh, I was talking too slow. What we need to agree on is which investments are wise and which ones are losers, and we need to come up with the wise investments and convince us they're worth the risk. Thank you for all you do. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now hear from a citizen regarding Pride. Mr. Vicente Gonzalez, please restate your name and locality of residence.
Well, I'm speaking on behalf of a group. Queer Town Hall. Hi, I'm Vicente. I'm here representing Queer Town Hall. Today I would like to highlight that June is not only National but International Pride Month. This month we celebrate our queer and LGBTQ communities. Pride is a time for celebration and resistance. And unfortunately, in Lynchburg, we are facing concerted efforts to deny queer people equal access to public space and life. In the midst of school closures and the defunding of public education, the Lynchburg School Board has chosen to prioritize the disenfranchisement of trans and queer students. First, I would like to point out that the school board was fully informed that trans and queer youth face disproportionate rates of bullying, depression, self-harm, sexual assault, homelessness, and suicide, and that these rates are exacerbated by harmful policies such as those handed down by Governor Glenn Youngkin. In addition, the Youngkin model policies are currently facing 2 lawsuits from both Hanover and York County, and as of April 19th are in direct violation of federal Title IX anti-discrimination laws. Throughout the year, the LCS Equity Task Force, through a fully democratic process, voted against the Youngkin policies and condemned the rejection of the $10,000 It Gets Better grant for the EC Glass GSA. The school board chose to ignore these recommendations and refused to put the task force on the agenda, even after months of requests. On June 4th, the school board voted to implement the transphobic model policies. The school board waited until the conclusion of the school year to put the vote on the agenda. And I would like to quote board member Dr. Sharon Carter, "I cannot support this policy. Have we talked about this in a session like this or just in closed session? Yeah, so I don't think we should rush to do this. And we haven't even talked about it in all the details of it or anything, just in closed session," end quote. It's interesting, the board would have time to swiftly vote on a policy when there was no time to engage with its own equity task force, which offered months of input. Also, board member Martin Day has suggested that all oversight committees should have their membership cut in half, and that each school board member be given the power to select 1 member per committee, which is essentially the entirety of the equity task force. This change in policy is a direct attack on efforts to hold the school board accountable for harmful and discriminatory practices against trans and queer people. I would also like to point out that board member Letitia Lowry chose to propagate misinformation spread by Marty Mischins that Queer Town Hall made threats to the city and was responsible for the cancellation of the International Festival. Lowerly continued to argue that members of Queer Town Hall should not be allowed to participate on oversight committees. The city's failure to be transparent with the cancellation of the festival continues to directly harm the queer community, which was always Marty Mischin's goal. It's so important that our LCS community realize that attacks on trans and queer students is only the beginning. This school board will continue to target progressive programs in our schools, including restorative justice practices and diversity in the curriculum. I beg our Lynchburg family that we finally understand that all of our struggles are interconnected. When trans students are under attack, so are Black youth, so are disabled youth, so are immigrant youth, so are students living in poverty. We still have the power to change. Even outside the city council and school board, we can change the way we see ourselves. We can change the ways we support each other. Queer people refuse to let this council and school board use our lives as a wedge issue to divide this community. We refuse to be intimidated and will continue to build a life worth living. I would like to close out, of course, to voice my support for a resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. We call on Councilwoman Mary Jane Dolan and Dr. Sterling Wilder to work with the community in drafting and presenting the proposal to the council. Thank you for letting me speak today.
Thank you. Our next section is general business. This section includes general items of new business. Consideration of finalizing the list of candidates to interview for the school board appointments for terms beginning July 1st, 2024 and expiring June 30th, 2027. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Ms. Alicia Finney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At your last meeting, the following candidates had been selected for interview. In District 3, Atul Gupta. In District 2, Jordan Nesbitt, Jabri Poe, Mark Tinsley. In District 1, Daryl Connor, Cynthia Deutsch, Patrick Earl, Elizabeth Jenkins, Ken Kowalski, Joseph Malloy, Selena Morgan, and Nettie Webb. You have before you the list of candidates. Those that are not highlighted in yellow are the ones that are still on the table. After you all are done choosing today, that will be the final selection.
Okay. Do any other council members want to pick some names from, any names from the list that have not been selected so far? Council Missions?
The only one I want to add is Brandy Gibbs for District 1.
Anyone else? That's all? Okay.
I think you should be added to our June 17th meeting. We do have a couple of others that are unable to make their slot or their time slots, so we will move them to the end of the 17th as well.
Okay.
But we'll begin tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, our second reading on the adoption of the fiscal year 2025 schools operating budget. Consideration of adopting Resolution R2444, appropriating the fiscal year 2025 schools operating budget by major classification. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Council Missions?
So after looking at what the schools put together, I think that, you know, this is what we get when we spend a little more time, we get some more information. Looks like we're going to be able to, with this operating budget, accomplish a lot of different things, including taking care of our teachers and giving our teachers salary increases. And I also have to disclose that my wife is a teacher in Lynchburg City Schools, but she's a member of a group that are teachers, and I'm a member of a group that are spouses of teachers, and I can weigh in on this impartially and objectively because there are so many teachers in our schools, and they are definitely deserving of you know, anything we can do for them. So looking at the numbers on this, we're seeing a $2.8 million increase to instruction from the previous amended budget. So the one we're closing out right now, that'll be done at the end of June. So it's nice to have money going to that classification, that category, because that's where the rubber hits the road, is teaching our kids and educating our kids. There's also some modest increases in the other categories. I did notice, and I guess somebody, I don't know that we need to talk about it, but I did notice that we took some money out of that contingency reserve, right? And we put it into the these line items, but this is what the school board requested. This is also going to give them the resources that they need to keep TC Miller and Sandusky open for an extra year. So that's why I'm motioning to approve this, because it just does a lot.
Councilman Taylor?
No.
Nothing else? Any other discussion? Councilman Helgeson?
Yes, thank you. And as we see by this budget, that it sometimes does pay to wait. I'm glad I waited. I know we all didn't, but these numbers are similar to what I said months ago. And I'm thankful for our city staff for digging in and understanding what the ADM is in spite of different numbers all along from the school administration. As you see in this budget, what we've done is the school board has able to be done. It's not city council's role. I know lots of times people like to say it's city council's role, but it's the school board's role. The school board decides what schools stay open. They decide what schools they close. They decide on efficiency. They decide on hiring and firing decisions, whether it be the superintendent or whatnot. They decide on what's best for instruction for our children because that is the task they're sworn to uphold. It was interesting a few months ago when I said that there's going to be more money coming from the state, and sure enough there is. And one of the school board members, which I'll say his name, Randy Trost, he was beside himself a few months ago. And I talked to him the other day, he said, dang it, you were right. And because I've looked at these numbers, I've been thankful to have experts like Jim Wiegand, who knows these numbers inside and out. He's looked at school funding since he was the legislative aide for Vance Wilkins back in the 60s or 70s. He looks at these numbers, he knows what they are. He understands the ADM, he understands how the funding works, and sometimes a whole lot better than the paid folks. But I'm glad that we have a budget that increases the funding to the frontline educators. It keeps the money that is the same. I know Mr. Seferati spoke a minute ago. It keeps our local taxpayers the same. And yet they still can do all these items that they put forward in their budget. They can keep schools open or they can close schools based on their job for efficiency. They can give more money to instruction, as this budget shows. They're giving raises to the teachers. They're giving raises to the frontline educators. Sometimes we try to hurry and vote on things, but I'm glad that I voted last time to wait because I knew the numbers that were in here were wrong. And on this budget, actually, these numbers are still probably wrong too, because they've now shown, for some reason, instead of a 73, 76 ADM, they show a 71, 61. 215 less kids from last budget to this budget. If it's higher as they project, that means even more money will be coming from the state. And so I'm happy to support this, and I'm thankful that we have a school board that is doing their best to improve education, because that's what is critical. It isn't just about saying more, 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 as Mr. Seferati pointed out. It's making sure those resources are to the best place, making sure those investments are made to where it's going to have the biggest impact and pay the biggest dividends. Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
Councilmember Dolan? No. Councilmember Huggleson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischens?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
No.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 5-2.
Oh, okay, sorry. We're done. I can't believe how fast that was. This meeting is adjourned. We'll meet again tomorrow morning at 9:30 actually, a.m. to conduct the school board interviews here in council chamber. Have a great night.